Well, hey, everybody, welcome to the Crit House. I'm Jeff Larson, and we today are going to take a look at the work of a Rhode Island-based photographer, Carrie Usmar. I did it already. I got it wrong, I think. Carrie has a project that is called The Resume of a Stay-at-Home Mom, and she is a Rhode Island resident and BFA, has received a BFA from the University of Rhode Island, and that's where she got her photography degree, and we're very happy to have her here. And what we are especially happy about here today is having our reviewers, two New York-based ambassadors for Leica and FujiFilm. Phil Penman is a Leica ambassador out of New York City. He's UK born and based out of New York. And he does workshops and does teaching for Leica Academy across not only the country, but the world. And has been listed, by the way, as one of the 52 most influential street photographers, which is very impressive. And Derek Fahsbender, also based out of New York, he is a FujiFilm ambassador, and he works for B&H Event Space. He is the host of the B&H Photo Event Space, and a good friend for me. Derek and Phil, welcome to you both. So, Carrie, if you can describe for us your project and the work and tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll start a review after that. Tell us about this project you have.
So my project, I started last September, and basically I'm at the point I'm a stay-at-home mom and I have 4 kids. And my youngest is 3, my oldest is 10. My youngest is about to start preschool. So I'm in this kind of weird area where I'm not sure what I want to do next. And I basically needed a resume. So I was going to apply for a grant and I needed to write a resume. And when I, looked at what would I put down for this gap in work, basically. I got really nervous about that, and I don't really have awards or exhibitions, nothing to really report except my volunteer role as a Girl Scout leader. So, so I started to research, do I put down that I'm a stay-at-home mom on my resume? And actually at the time on LinkedIn, they didn't have stay-at-home mom as something that you could choose as a job. They just added it in April of 2021. So most of the articles that I read said not to put it down on your resume. And so it's just like, well, what do I do now? So anyway, it gave me this idea to capture all of the skills and jobs that I have done over the years. I put a lot of hats on as a stay-at-home mom. And so I basically just started setting my camera up and with my kids, and sometimes I'd have a skill in mind that I wanted to capture. Most of the time I'd capture the absolute opposite skill that I was going for, but it made it really special. And as I was doing more research, I realized that there are probably about 10 million stay-at-home moms right now in the US. And so I'm not alone in this, but also that stay-at-home mothers are half as likely to get a job interview than unemployed mothers. And also employers said in various studies that stay-at-home parents are less reliable, less deserving, and less committed to work than unemployed parents, which is kind of crazy. But so it's almost got me even more revved up to kind of work on this project, because I really want to dispel some of those stereotypes about stay-at-home mothers and really show the depth of the role that I have, and also force hopefully future employers to reevaluate their assumptions.
Can I ask you a question before we move on to the review? So where do you see this living? Is this a newspaper piece for a magazine? Are you looking at it to be on a wall? Is it a book, a zine? What's the final product that you're looking to get to?
I've always envisaged it as an exhibition of some kind on a wall. So yeah, I'm kind of at the point where I'm trying to figure that out, you know, I'm kind of in the middle
Okay.
of that. But yeah, that's what I envisaged for it.
Okay. Thanks. This is great. So let us chat for a bit and we'll get back to you in a few minutes if that's okay.
Yeah, of course.
All right. So Phil, I've been running through the images, and Derek, I've been running through the images so you can see it while she was talking about the work that you do. What's your initial reaction? Do you have any initial thoughts that you would be worthwhile to communicate?
Well, I think for me, the idea of it, where it's a very strong focus on the topic, and a lot of people come in and the focus is completely on the imagery and not on the idea. And I think the idea is super strong. It resonates, especially with what's been going on in the world the last 2 years. It resonates with me and probably anybody else who has ended up in any of, whether it's unemployed, being a stay at home, being underemployed, having to get a part-time. I think all of these people are people that have tried to go from one career to another. All of these people are going to look at a project like this and be like, you know what, there's some facet of this that I really get. And I think that's what makes it so endearing, is because as listen to Carrie talk and looking at the images, I'm like, okay, I have a son. For a long time, I was unemployed, underemployed, trying to get employed, working part-time jobs just to try to get a full-time job, working full-time jobs that I hated just to try to find a job that I love. And so as I'm looking at it, what really jumped out to me was the captions, the little resume bullet points that people have on there. And I just thought that was a cool take on it. So initially, my focus was on everything other than the images.
Phil, what's your thought?
I think it's where you go from here. Like you say you want to do an exhibition. The images, when you look at it, it looks it's tough when you're trying to go for an exhibition. Like this could look very much like a commercial campaign. Like, if we look at this image, everything's very, very clean. I don't know whether your kitchen's normally like that. I know when I've gone into commercial shoots, like we make everyone take everything out of the kitchen. We maybe leave some nice flowers on the countertop. So it could look very much like a commercial shoot. The images are all great. I think it's a case of like, it's hysterical, some of these pictures. And I noticed the England top there as well, being an England supporter, in number 5, I believe. So
My husband's from England.
Yeah, good man. It's one of the hardest jobs in the world, is being an England supporter, though. So as far as pictures, like it's some of them, they look, I'm guessing you shoot this like on a tripod, set everything up, so it's all very contrived, the images, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so I would say it depends what kind of feel. Like I've seen exhibits before, and it's kind of like, the mum with the family. There was one that I saw where they had every single picture was the kid in the Darth Vader outfit, like, in a diner, all these different places. So it depends, obviously it's very hard to shoot a documentary style. You can't shoot that yourself. So the only thing I would say is whether you want it to look very contrived or you want it to be more gritty, more realistic to how you're living. So like with the kitchen shot, I would like to see more of like clutter, mess, you're working hard, the kids are making you work for it. So that's one of the things, like I love this. So it's where do you go with it next? Campaign, how do you get it out there? Social, all the marketing aspects of it. And then like, how many more images are you looking really to do you think?
I don't think, I think if anything, I would switch out. if something came along as I am continuing this process, I don't know that I would add more unless it really, I think there's maybe one more skill like conflict resolution I might want to try and cover, but I haven't gotten to that really.
What,
But that was really, this is pretty much where I'm at.
yeah. Are you looking to go out into the world with it like chauffeur? You know, you got the kids in the back of the car, that kind of shot. You know,
Oh,
you could go a whole bunch of different ways with this. You know, like whether the kids play football, soccer. So you know how much. Obviously, it's more than just the home. So
yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
sure you could. I would say, you know, especially if you were going to go with an exhibition, you're going to need more material than this.
All
A
right.
lot more
That's good to
material.
know. Yeah.
Because you know usually you're taking like 100 images and knocking it down to like your very best 20. So I would carry on shooting, definitely.
Okay.
And then like images like this are like it's a little bit more messy, probably a little bit more closer to reality.
Mhm.
So be wary of like cleaning up too much. I think
Yeah.
it'll look more authentic.
So let me ask you something, because this is something that I was reacting to. So this image that we're looking at right now, the devised and implemented a cleanup protocol. So there's an emotional element like in her face. I've been there with my son, you know, cleaning up and just exhausted. Does there need to be sort of more of that? I mean, there are a couple of images that feel a little bit like they're stock, that they could be a stock image from an agency. It does, if it's going to be on a wall as a gallery, does there need to be more of I don't know, emotional resonance that come into play? Is there a way of, do you feel that that's important?
I think that there has to at least be a conscious direction. Jeff, I'm glad you said that because you took the words right out of my mouth. Some of the images are very stock looking, like the one that Phil was talking about that looks like the commercial shoot. That's the first thing I thought, was like it looks like stock imagery.
This one here?
And this one there.
Yeah.
And I look at, I'm torn, and this is why I'm torn, is there's two schools of thought, right? There's the school of thought that says everything should, can look at everything from a super technical standpoint and take the images just for what they are and say, okay, I get the project, I get everything that we're doing here, but let's just look at the images. Are they visually engaging, right? And you can look at it like that, or you can look at it as, okay, it's going to be super candid. I don't care about lighting, I don't care about composition, I'm throwing out all the aesthetics of photography and I'm just going to capture what's real. And I feel like there's kind of like a tug of war in a lot of the images where it's like, okay, is it you know, all the way contrived, or is it, you know, contrived but then it's like, okay, well, let's kind of do a little natural but maybe not. And I feel like they're like, I get kind of confused in looking at some of them. Like I want to know it's either all the way 100% candid or all the way 100% contrived with a distinct focus on the aesthetics in addition to the project. And I think when you pick up that kind of waffling or that perceived waffling, because it's obviously just me perceiving it, it can take away, and it can take your viewer and say, well, wait, is this a BuzzFeed list? Is it a serious project? Is it a gallery piece? And you don't want that. You want to kind of drive the direction and really, really, really be committed to it. So I think something that might help it is shooting and setting your camera up for interval timer, where it's going to, okay, every 5 seconds, it's going to take an image. And then just acting, or not acting, just letting life play out. And this way you're capturing that moment where you might have images that aren't technically perfect, but they don't give off any hint of being staged, where it's 100% completely candid. Because once you set an interval timer and you say you set it to go off and take a picture every 3 seconds for a minute or 2 minutes, you eventually mother is going to kick in, and you're going to forget the camera's there, and you're going to
Your
get
life comes about.
real. Totally.
Right. You'll get some
Yeah.
images that'll surprise you they hadn't even thought about. Phil, what do you think about that?
It's a great idea. Like, what Derek, you suggested there with the interval timer. The other thing I was thinking about would be interesting is if you got the kids involved. It's a dangerous concept, giving this camera to a kid and say, "Have at it, kid." But shots like this are very good. I like the ones where it looks more natural, like it doesn't look like you're acting. There's like a couple of shots where it looks like you're posing, and it's hard to do, right? Because you're setting up the camera on a tripod, you're trying to compose it all. I think you kind of need to let it just kind of flow a little bit more. Again, it's that choice of whether we make it look like it's a commercial kind of, there's nothing wrong. It looks like very fine art. You could make it very stylized. You could go all the other way where like it could look like a Martin Parr shot where you're kind of like totally oversaturating everything with a flash. You could go that route with it. So I think you kind of need to choose a direction, whether you want it to look very stylized or you want it to look very natural. Like there's a few images here, I think number 4, where it kind of looks that's very natural kind of reportage kind of work, and then maybe the one below looks, number 5 looks very kind of almost commercial stock. I personally, I prefer like the more candid looking, like number 6, number 4. Number 3, again, it looks very stock, very commercial looking. So I would go and shoot a bunch more, and then even go to the point where you set the camera up, maybe put something in the foreground that's kind of slightly out of focus. Again, just make it look a lot more natural. Maybe even just like give the kid the camera and just let them have it. Just kind of give them the rough idea of, like, kids are smart. They're on iPhones at the age of 2 now, taking pictures. So give the kid a camera and get the whole family involved in it, even, and see just to test it and see how they come out, because it might be like a much more fun exchange, less acting looking, and just like I think you might have more fun with it that way, and you might come away with some absolute blinders.
So,
Yeah.
Carrie, what's your response to the things we've talked about? Do you have any questions, or you have any either disagreements or something that you want to comment on?
No, I think it's all great feedback. I agree with what you both said about kind of the tug of war. And I actually am also really drawn to the images that look more real. And like I said, most of the stuff that I captured was actually the opposite idea that I had. Like I, went into it trying to do, like, I don't know, just a totally different skill, and ended up seeing these other ones. But I haven't tried the interval timer. That was one of the next things on my list, because it's hard. You're constantly pause to try and push the remote, that it kind of breaks everything up, and then I'm like, oh, I missed that moment. So that's a great thing to continue on. And yeah, I don't really know a lot about the exhibition gallery, how to even go on from here. I know shooting is definitely like continuing the project, but do you guys like know any resources or have ideas of how to learn more about, printing your work and things like that?
One of
Phil, you
them is right
probably
below me on the screen.
Yeah, Phil, I think you have the most experience in that.
Marketing. That's what it comes down to. I think you have like an idea for a hell of a campaign, like Instagram. I presume you have your own Instagram page or LinkedIn or TikTok. You're gonna need to create a whole new page for this. Okay. and you could have this appeal to mothers who are in, or fathers who are in this exact same situation. You kind of get them involved as well. Like maybe even like you create a page, but you're trying to drive, basically you're trying to drive more people to your work and the project that you're doing. And then eventually you get a book out of it. But it's a lot of it now is all marketing. So start working on getting that page together. At the same time, you need the most important thing, I say this over and over again, your mailing list. Okay, it's the most important thing you have as a photographer is emails. So when you do have your exhibition, you can put out your email. You know, with social media, you're very we're reliant on the algorithm letting other people know. With your email list, you know that they get it and they can choose to ignore it or not, but at least you know they got it. So if you don't have that already, get your email list going. MailChimp, any one of these companies will let you do one for free for like 2,500 people, I think. But yeah, you know, it's a great project.
Well, I think that's a good place to end it. Thank you very much. And I will have to say, you mentioned Carrie's website and that she needs to have a page. She does have that, and it is here on the screen. The listing there is for mamadaringgreatly.com, and she's also on Instagram at mamadaringgreatly to see more of the work that she has available there. And hopefully we'll be able to see more of that as time passes. Phil Penman has been with us today. He is a Leica ambassador, and he teaches around the world and the country. PhilPenman.com is where you can see more of his work, and he is on Instagram at Phil Penman. And Derek Fahsbender is a FujiFilm ambassador, and you can find his website at leicamachine.com, and the same thing with him on for information on Instagram at Leica Machine. And I do want to encourage everyone who's been watching this, if you're still with us, to make comments in the comment field to give Carrie more information and more feedback on the work that you've seen here. And certainly you can give us feedback on this show as well. To participate in the Crit House, please reach out to us at thecrithouse.com. If you want to participate, there is a participation link there. You can fill out information, and we'd love to have you join us. We'd love to see your work. We want to extend this out to as many different areas of photography as there is, including fine art and conceptual art and landscape and other areas as well. So please reach out and let us know if you're interested in having your work viewed out here. This is the Crit House, a photography review. Thank you so much for joining us.